The Letters You Left Behind. Evelyn sat by the old oak tree, the cool breeze of early autumn brushing through her hair. The leaves danced around her feet, swirling shades of amber and red, but her heart felt heavy, far removed from the beauty surrounding her. In her hands she clutched a letter she had read countless times before. It had been 2 years since Liam had passed. They met in college, both dreamers in their own right. Evelyn was a literature major, always buried in books, while Liam was an artist, sketching life as he saw it, raw, imperfect, beautiful. Their worlds collided during a campus art exhibit where Evelyn stood mesmerized by a painting of a girl sitting beneath an oak tree. "That's you," Liam had said, appearing beside her. "I've seen you reading there." From that moment, their lives intertwined effortlessly. Late-night coffee runs, spontaneous road trips, laughter under starry skies, it all seemed infinite. But life, Evelyn would learn, had a cruel way of teaching impermanence. Shortly after graduation, Liam was diagnosed with a rare heart condition. They spent the next year fighting against time, squeezing joy out of every moment they had left. Hospitals became second homes, yet Liam never stopped sketching. He sketched her, the nurses, the sunrise he watched through the window, and through it all, he smiled. "It's okay, Evie," he whispered one night as she held his hand tightly. "I've lived 1,000 lifetimes in the moments we've shared." When Liam finally left, Evelyn felt like the world dimmed. Friends tried to console her, family stood by her side, but there was a hollow space no one could reach. She moved away to a quiet town, disconnecting from everything, carrying the weight of their memories. That's when the letters began to arrive. The first one came on her birthday. The envelope was simple, but the handwriting unmistakable. "Dear Evie, I hope you're smiling today. I asked a friend to send you this. You always hated big celebrations, so think of this as my little way of being there. Remember, the stars don't stop shining, even if we can't see them. Love, Liam." Her hands trembled. Tears blurred her vision. How had he managed to send her a letter after all this time? As the months passed, more letters followed, each arriving when she seemed to need them most. On days she felt like giving up, on anniversaries of both happy and painful events, his words found her like lifelines. He told her to travel, to laugh, to let herself feel without guilt. He encouraged her to paint, to write, to live. Not for him, but for herself. Every letter was filled with gentle reminders of who she was beyond the grief. One rainy evening, a particularly thick envelope arrived. Inside was not just a letter, but a small map drawn in Liam's familiar hand. "Dear Evie, this is the last one. If you've made it this far, I want you to follow the map. I promise it's worth it. You always asked me why I loved that oak tree. Time to show you. Love, Liam." Heart-pounding, Evelyn studied the map. It led to a trail outside of town she hadn't visited before. Curiosity and a quiet ache guided her the next morning as she set off. The path wound through the woods, each step stirring old memories. She finally reached a clearing where a small weathered bench sat under a tall oak tree, a different one, yet eerily familiar. Beside it was a stone plaque. Kneeling down, she brushed away the leaves covering it. "For Evelyn. Under every tree there's a story. This one is ours. Love." Liam. Her breath caught in her throat. Suddenly she noticed something else. Propped against the bench was a canvas, wrapped carefully. She untied the ribbon and unrolled it. It was a painting of her, sitting under the tree, book in hand, sunlight catching her smile. But behind her, in soft, warm tones, was Liam, sketched faintly like a shadow, always there but letting her take center stage. Beneath the painting, a final note. "Evie, I didn't want our story to end in sadness. This is your beginning. Whenever you feel alone, know I'm part of the sky, the wind, the laughter you'll find again. Please, let yourself live. All my love, Liam." Evelyn sat down on the bench, tears falling freely, but for the first time in years they weren't only of sorrow. The ache remained, but something lighter wrapped around it. Gratitude, hope, love that refused to fade. Weeks later, she returned to the city. She pulled out an old notebook, one she hadn't opened since college, and began to write again. She traveled to places they had dreamed of, laughed without guilt, even exhibited her own artwork inspired by Liam's sketches. She carried him not as a wound, but as a gentle presence, woven into every chapter of her life. Because some love stories don't end. They simply change form. And Evelyn's story, though touched by loss, was ultimately one of healing, of rediscovering joy, of living fully. Liam had left her letters, but more importantly, he had left her the courage to keep writing her own.